This is how to get customers so fast that it feels illegal. And this is the exact framework that I use to scale businesses from 330K per month to over $1 million per month. And utilizing the same framework, another business from 750K per month to over 4.2 million per month. Both of those businesses within 1 year. That's 300 and 500% plus growth in a 1 year period of time. And I did this using a very specific framework. It all starts with taking an audit of the business and where it stands currently. So if you have an existing business and you want to see how to generate more leads, get more customers, convert them at a higher rate, drive more money into the business, this is for you. Now you can also utilize this exact framework if your business is pre-revenue or you haven't actually begun getting clients yet. Where we need to start before anything else in the business is who is our buyer. Most businesses do not adequately define who their buyer is. When you can so acutely define your buyer personas, your ideal customer profile within a business, then you will be able to target that person with every segment of the business, the product, the service, the staff, the messaging, the color schemes, the feel, the similarities to other things that they buy. You have to define who is this person, right? So the very first thing that we're going to do is say, who is our customer, okay? I want you to write down, how old are they? Where do they live? What kind of life do they have? What kind of jobs do they have? What's their personality type? How do they make decisions? What other similar products and services do they buy? What kind of clothes do they wear? Where do they get information from? What kind of podcast do they listen to? What kind of music do they listen to? Do they have kids, or are they single? Are they married? Are they divorced? Do they belong to tennis clubs, golf clubs? What do they do with their free time? What are their interests? You have to be able to analyze and define this person, demographic and psychographic. And when you can so acutely define every single thing about this person, good things coming. Now, the next thing that we need to define after we say who is our buyer is what is the problem that we are actually solving? What is the root cause of this problem, and how does it make our buyer feel? Now, if our messaging can properly articulate this problem and the feelings that are associated with the problem, then we have to ask ourselves the third and most important question: does our product or service actually solve this problem? And can we communicate and prove that our product or service can solve this problem? Lastly, sort of as a bonus, do we have product market fit, right? Does this fit within the current marketplace? Do we have a competitive advantage over other people? Is there a market for this? For any of you that run a business currently, or you manage people and you want to improve your revenue, if you want to generate more cash within the business, click the link directly in this video and I will work one-on-one with you in my business mentorship. We take an audit of your business, we define your goals, and then we create a roadmap from which to implement and scale your business. Along the way, you have my feedback from all the experience that I've had over the years, scaling Health Gains 300% in a year, scaling 10x Health over 500% in 1 year, and helping hundreds of business owners do the same thing. Most recently, my client Felix going from 500K to 2 million per month in only 2 months working with me. So if you have an interest in generating more revenue in your business, click the link directly here in this video. How do we determine if our buyer has a problem that they are willing to pay for to solve, and if our solution can actually solve it? This is something that you have to ask yourself, right? Are there other competitors in the marketplace that are solving this issue, and are they driving revenue? And if the answer is yes, well then, okay, we understand that we can solve a problem that someone's willing to pay for, but how is our service different from others? Which brings us to the next step. What is our USP? Our unique selling proposition. How are we different? What is our unique advantage? Why should someone buy our product or service versus someone else's product or service? Oftentimes, our product or service might not be that different from another competitor in the marketplace, But if we can message how our product or service is different, if we can market the unique advantage that we have, and if we can provide extra customer service, something that the client wants above and beyond the actual deliverable of the product or service itself, we might have a unique advantage. Oftentimes, business owners are in a position in which their product or service is not radically different from others. The one thing that actually separates them is their ability to communicate, follow up, and delight their customers, which comes down to customer service. No matter what you are selling, at the end of the day, you need to become so obsessed with your buyer and being the best communicator with that buyer. Before they buy, when they buy, during the deliverables, and beyond. A typical funnel is static, right? Does everyone know what a sales funnel is? It says, hey, I become aware that a brand exists. And then maybe I'm going to start to engage with this brand a little bit and do a little bit of research. And then, wow, I'm actually going to maybe even consider working with this brand. And then I get down to a point where I'm going to make a decision, and either I do or I don't. Most people stop their funnel there. Once the lead becomes a client, they say, okay, great, we deliver the service and that's it. Who is your best source of new clients? Is it paid ads? Is it SEO? Is it Google ads, Google My Business listing? No, it's referrals. It is your current customers. So we must not stop marketing, selling, delivering value to our current customers. That means following up with them, letting them know about new promotions, letting them know about new lines of business or product or service, educating them on new products or service in the marketplace, the market in general, other things that they can do in a complementary fashion to enhance the product or service that you are delivering to them. We must consistently educate, inform, and delight our clients. And we must advise them that we have a referral program. The language must be very specific around getting referrals as well. It cannot be like, hey, we want your referrals. It must be like, hey, have you received value? Is everything going well? Any feedback? And when they say, yes, everything's amazing, value's been great, no, I have no feedback, awesome. You know that we love to help other people in the same fashion that you've seen these results. You know, we want to make sure that we can help loved ones and family members and as many people as possible experience these amazing benefits that you have. That being said, is there anyone in your network that might be open to a conversation to us? We're not assuming that they need this, but maybe open to a conversation. And then reminding them that, hey, anybody that you introduce to us that moves forward with the service, you know, you'll get 50% off your next service or a free service, and they'll get a discount as well, right? So just in a very short amount of time, even if we stopped here, there's no way that if you implemented these very simple things by better defining your customer, changing your brand messaging, getting referrals from current clients, making sure that we have a product, a problem that we can actually solve and we deliver on that you wouldn't increase revenue. And we're just getting started. Now, if we have an existing business, we need to take a look at our current funnel. How do we acquire clients? Do we utilize lead form on a website? Are we running Facebook ads, Google ads? Are people finding us organically? Do we have a social presence? Are they finding us through TikTok or Instagram or YouTube? Once we look at this, we need to define something. Based upon our product or service, where does our buyer live and how are they going to make a buying decision? Somebody who's buying a bottle of toothpaste versus somebody that decides to move forward with a functional medicine treatment is drastically different. They're going to make their buying decisions differently, right? A can of toothpaste is something that someone could be served an ad for and easily make an impulse decision, right? This is a inexpensive product itself. It's not as though someone's going to do hours and hours of research on the toothpaste. If they see an ad that's served that makes sense, that puts fear into them about fluoride and other chemicals, and they say, you know what, I do want to be a little bit more health conscious, they'll make an impulse decision. Shit, they might even buy 6. I know I did. But when it comes to something like making a decision about your health or getting a blood test and then, maybe getting customized supplements or some hormone replacement therapy, this decision is going to require a little bit more education and information. And so we're not going to necessarily serve ads the same way because this isn't an impulse buy, right? We may still utilize Facebook ads, but we're going to have to call out our buyer persona much differently and then bring them through a funnel of education, which requires getting on a sales call. It requires maybe some video explanation, maybe some written explanation, some case studies. It's going to really require a much more consultative process. So as a result, we need to understand, are people searching for where is the best hormone replacement in ChatGPT or in Google or on YouTube? They sure are. So we need to be able to rank first. Back in the day, Google keyword SEO was key. Search engine optimization. Someone would go into Google and type in, who's the best hormone replacement therapy provider around me? And still to this day, people will use that platform. But I would wager to say that YouTube has become the most important platform that you can possibly utilize for your business. I don't care how well you speak on camera. I don't care what you do as a business. But there is so much opportunity in creating a YouTube channel, especially now with a very small following, educating people on what you do, what you stand for, and why they should select your product or service. When you have content that someone can consume, you are moving them down the funnel. If you are solely relying on throwing an ad out and then getting on a call with someone, it's going to be much more difficult to close a semi-warm lead who has only spoken with you for 20 or 30 minutes. If they're able to watch content and see what you stand for and results and what you do, they are already ready to buy once they actually speak and engage with you in the sales process. So we need to define what type of marketing strategy is best and what channels of advertising should we utilize based upon your product or service, the buyer, the price point, the problem it solves, and the nature of the product or service itself. From there, we can start to look at every single potential marketing option and create a plan. This is where most people go wrong. They hire an agency and they say the agency sucked, it didn't work. And they've gone through 7 agencies and everyone promises they can get results and they can't. Now, is it that all 7 agencies, 5 of whom came highly recommended with many results, are not adequate? Or is it that you as a business owner were not able to give all necessary information and prime the agency that you're working with on who exactly you want to target, giving them the data and the demographics of your current clients and helping them understand your brand identity and your messaging. When you define everything that I just told you prior, then you can give that information to an agency so that they're able to carefully curate a go-to-market advertising strategy that should provide better results than if you're not able to give them all of the details about who you want to target, your product or service, your brand messaging, what's important to you, and how you want to talk to this person, right? So this is an important part of the process. Now, let's say you start working and getting leads. You're creating YouTube content, you got a social presence, you're starting to run some Facebook ads, you got some Google ads going, you've optimized your Google My Business listing. You start to have a nice referral program. People are referring you. You start to partner with other products or services where your customer currently purchases, right? Like when I was running healthcare companies, you bet I was going to partner with healthy food places, with trainers, with nutritionists, with everyone else in the health and wellness realm that didn't do exactly what we do. I wanted to be able to refer clients to these people so that they could enhance their experience, thus us becoming a trusted resource, and vice versa on the other way around. When someone walked into a healthy food place and they would see our information there, it was a no-brainer that they would consider improving their health, going from healthy food to maybe IVs, to supplements, to maybe a blood test and some hormones. Okay, so once we have all that done and we start to get leads, what are we doing with the leads? First and foremost, are you answering or getting back to those leads right away? And guys, it's 2025. AI is dominating. There is absolutely zero reason that your lead should not immediately get a text and an email advising them that we have received their information and that we will be reaching out to them to set up a time or to hop on a call so that we can make sure they have all the necessary information, determine if they are a good fit for what we do, and then help them move down the line so that we can solve their problem. Immediately. If any of you are currently getting leads and there is a lag time between the first text and email, you have failed. Now, along with this process of lead management and a higher conversion rate, one thing that we must know is who's our competition? How are they responding to leads? What sort of information are they giving to leads? And what is their product or service? What do they deliver? So we need to shop all of our competition, right? We need to make a fake Gmail address and create an alter ego and actually walk through the process so that we know how to sell against other people. We never ever badmouth another business, ever. When someone says, yeah, I'm also considering looking at X, Y, and Z, we say, yeah, awesome, great place. Do you know, do they do this? And that thing that we ask them, do they do this, is something we know they don't do, but that we do that might be important to the prospective client. All of a sudden, it's showing that we are so well educated because we've been through this so many times that we pay attention to what everyone does and we understand how our product or service is most perfectly aligned with solving every part of the problem they need solved. It's a beautiful strategy, okay? Now, we need to make sure that the salespeople within our organization have the skill not to just dictate what we do. Quite honestly, their product knowledge is not the most important thing to sales. Should they understand the product or the service? Yes, but that's not what's most important. Understanding the prospect is what is most important. When I scaled sales teams, I would never hire someone that had experience in my industry. I didn't give a shit. I could teach anyone about medicine or cars or finance or real estate, and I was going to teach them in a way that mimicked our brand. I wanted them to explain things and do things our way, not to come in with bad habits. But I did want them to have a fundamental understanding of how to sell to the type of buyer that we were selling to. This is why it's so imperative. When I scaled these organizations in functional medicine, hormone replacement therapy, most of our buyers were between the ages of 40 and 65, and they were very wealthy, affluent people because they were spending 10, 20, 30, 50 racks a year with us. So who did I hire as salespeople? Luxury yacht brokers, high-end real estate, people that sold jewelry, people that sold luxury cars. I wanted salespeople that understood the nuance of a wealthy buyer. This is imperative. You have to be obsessed with your buyer. As a result of this, we were able to convert at a much higher rate because my salespeople understood the nuances of that type of person. Now, the next thing is this. Once you get this lead and you reach out, you have to be able to set a proper cadence. How often do we reach out if they don't answer? What's the text? What's the email strategy? Right? I used to have my guys call immediately and hang up right away. And then text right back, say, hey, I just called. Think about that. If you get a call and a text and an email, you're much more likely to actually respond to one of these things. I don't pick up any calls that I don't know. If someone just calls me, I wouldn't have even have remembered that I submitted a lead. I don't know that number. In fact, any call that comes in, it's silenced. 100%. So you have to understand these strategies, and how to utilize the proper cadence when reaching out. Then, when someone gets on the call, how do you speak with them? How do you relate to them? And the whole building rapport the old way of how's it going today? Where do you live? How are you? Dude, stop. When you understand your buyer, you need to understand how they make decisions, how much time they have, how wealthy they are. Because for somebody like me or, some sort of executive that doesn't have that much time, I don't want any fluff. Just get right to it, okay? The next and most important part to converting at a higher rate is that the first 50% of that call, the salesperson must be a therapist. What does a therapist do? A therapist asks questions that the person that they're working with, that their patient may have never thought of themselves. Questions that dig so deep, questions that evoke emotions, questions that get them to think. And when you ask a therapist something about themselves, they don't give you any information about themselves. They say, look, that's awesome. Let's make sure we focus on helping you achieve your outcomes here. Let me get you all the information I possibly can so I can help you become equipped to make the best possible buying decision. Sound fair? Yes. And we move back to it. We exhaust. Extremely curious. We do not tell a prospect anything about ourselves until we fully understand their issues, how those issues make them feel, how bad they hurt, why they want to solve them, what they've tried before, who else they're considering, and when they want to move forward with a decision. Once we understand all those things, then we can ask them, how much do you know about what we do, or how familiar are you with this process? And then we educate them about our product or service in a way that they can understand, and we only educate them about the portion of our product or service that solves their need. That's usually 20% of the product or service. The other 80% we do not need to overspeak and move our way out of a sale. They don't care. The best two things that you can do as a salesperson, and for all of you sales managers and business owners when you're teaching your team, have them be more curious and have them stop telling the prospect so much about what they do. Just understand two things. Nobody cares about you. The prospect only cares about what's in it for them, and did we highlight their problem and demonstrate that we can solve it. Okay? So we've exhausted all questions. We've put them in a position where they say, okay, yes, I want more information about this. And then we educate them in a way that solves their product or service, and then we close them. I'm not going to get into my full closer framework here, but just understand we increased our conversion rate from 7% to 33%. That is a massive, massive change in conversion rate. And I did so by improving our presence, our messaging, our collateral, our salespeople, our sales script, our cadence. Now the next thing is this. Salespeople will forget what you taught them. They will develop bad habits. They will get negative. So the next and most important thing is creating a culture in which the sales manager has meetings with the team every single morning and teaches them not only about sales and persuasion, but about mindset and motivation and discipline, helps them personally develop. When you help your team personally develop so that they come into work ready to grow and learn and make more money, you're going to be exponentially more successful than somebody who comes in, has been smoking cigarettes, drinking Starbucks, and having a few donuts on the way in, right? You want to create a culture of excellence, and this is done by not only being an excellent leader that demonstrates what success looks like, but also by having daily meetings to work with the team. I used to have these daily meetings every day. I would do meditation for 10 minutes, and then I would do role plays. Some days we would do call recordings. I would teach them about certain products or services. I would get to the end of the week and I would write down every objection or frequently asked question that they were being asked, and then we would solve them together. And in those Friday meetings, I would have my marketing department in the meetings recording all of the conversations, the objection handling that we were doing, and create videos and blogs, collateral from those frequently asked questions, from that objection handling, so that the sales team could utilize that to push someone down the funnel. Now I have my marketing department fully understanding how we answer those questions, mimicking our brand voice and taking things that the that the prospective clients are actually asking us, and then in real time getting that information online. This is how we start to compress the funnel. Not to mention, I completely changed the incentives for the salespeople. What they were being paid, how they were being paid, their monthly competitions, their quarterly challenges. I started to create an environment that was fun to come into, right? And when they would come into my office and ask me questions, instead of just telling them what to do all the time, I would utilize a question-based framework. Hey, I totally understand where you're coming from. Now, have you thought through this at all? What do you think that you should do? If you were in my position, what would you say to you? What do you think a solution might be? And I would start to empower my employees so they didn't feel like I was just the boss always giving them information and they couldn't think for themselves. When you start to create a culture like this, where everybody is open-minded and willing to grow, beautiful things happen, okay? Now, inside your organization, you must train every single person on your team in sales and persuasion every single day. They need to be able to communicate more effectively with their coworkers, with their clients, with the prospective lead. And if they're not in sales, it doesn't matter. Anybody that may potentially have some interaction with a client or not should improve their ability to communicate and persuade. This will only enhance the culture. When you start to develop everyone in your organization, what do you think is going to happen? You think you're going to retain more employees or less employees? They're going to be excited to come into work. This is literally how I completely changed companies. I went through this audit, I looked at all functions, I changed culture, I changed employee incentives, and all of a sudden, we went from having a shitty static funnel with employees that didn't want to come into work, that couldn't even use the CRM, that weren't hitting their goals, that were looking for new jobs, to being like, holy shit, I love coming into work. I'm getting better as a person. I got in better shape. My mind changed. I'm making more money. Wade's teaching me sales. I have a great leader. He helps us. He empowers us. The business is growing. I might even be able to move up within the business, right? I could go on about this forever, but I will stop there for today and let you know this. This is just the tip of the iceberg. If any of this was valuable and you are a business owner and you would like to scale your company, generate more revenue, just click the link directly in this video, apply to work one-on-one with me. I will help you take an audit of your business, set your goals, and we will create a roadmap so that you can drastically increase the rate of success, aka make money more quickly. Hope this was helpful. Love y'all. Peace.